So this is principles 1 through 5. To me, the most important one, perhaps, and it's why I put it number one, is something I figured out many years ago, which is you need to figure out how to kick your own ass in life. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because ultimately, when you leave college or wherever you enter the workforce, and when you're out there, you'll come to the realization that the world doesn't hate you and the world doesn't love you. It just doesn't care. And it's kind of a surprise, I think, when people get out into the workforce and realize nobody asks anything of them. I mean, they hope you do great things and such, but the only person who can possibly push you far enough forward to succeed in life is you. So I tell them, get out there and kick your own ass because no one else is going to do that. And it's one of the guiding principles, I think, that makes a big difference long term. Number 2 is prepare to win or lose to someone who has. That is intimately familiar to people, I believe, who get involved in sports and things like that. But it's not so much in the business world. I started as a sales rep for an optical supply company when I left the Air Force, something I never really wanted to do, sales actually, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. And so I started the night before, sometimes several days in advance, and figured out what they sold and when they sold. I took all the information I had about the stores, about what they had bought, where they were, and I started to prepare so that when I left in the morning to go sell, and if the first store opened at 8 a.m. and I was 4 hours away, I left at 4. And I made sure that I was there and that I was not going to lose because of a lack of hustle, if you will. And ultimately, I did pretty well in that job in the first couple of years, then we started our own business. But I'm telling you, if you don't prepare to win, someone who has with less talent is going to beat you. Number 3, I've heard this a lot too. It's not who you know, but who knows you. Or, it's always who you know, who you know, who you know. Actually, I believe that's not true. Because just because somebody knows you or your parents or a relative or a friend or whatever, they don't really have an inclination to help you unless they really know you. And interesting, there's a ton of ways to get to know people who could be important in your life, to pick up mentors through LinkedIn and a million other sources out there. But really take the time and effort to get connected with somebody so they really know you. Because if they know you, they actually might reach out and help you, and that's what's going to help your career quite a bit. 4 is know your own personal alphas. I teach finance, and in the world of investment, alpha is typically seen as outperformance, I suppose, as long as it's positive alpha. But, I honestly believe that God endows each of us with talents. And I think we can kind of figure out who those are and what those are through time. But knowing your own personal alphas, figuring out what you're good at, and taking those and figuring out how to make a living with them, especially something you can do over a long period of time. I tell my students a 45-year career is 540 months. So you better figure out something you're good at, and you better figure out something that you like, because that's a long time to work. But know your own personal alphas, so when you have the opportunity to speak with someone and find that match between what you're good at and what they do, knowing it ahead of time is really helpful, really, really helpful. Finally, principle number 5, hand them the decision you want on a silver platter. When you get out in the workforce out there, you would find out that there's many times several solutions to a problem. And I'm saying there is absolutely nothing wrong with suggesting the solution that would actually benefit you the most. I've literally had people say, hey, Smith, I know this is going to help you. And yet they took the solution anyway, because what the world hates is people with questions and no answers. So when you get out there and try to figure out answers, take a minute and think about what it takes to have it work in your benefit or to your benefit, because I think you'll be surprised how often that will help along the way. So